While I know a lot of people love Death Note, is it even actually good? When I first watched the show ages ago, I couldn't even finish it as I got bored of the whole idea. But now, after rewatching the whole show in my much older and woker state, I have a slightly different view. When I first watched the show, I was focusing on one aspect of Light's character, his goal of becoming God. However, that's not the main driving force behind all of his actions. He simply is bored, and the Death Note allowed him to stop his boredom in his perfect life. The character is very self-absorbed, which is the result of how highly he's been viewed his whole life. While at first he's still his sane self, his character changes a lot after he realizes he can get rid of his boredom. In some aspects, he believes he was chosen by the Death Note. The best part is that Light's character changes a large number of times throughout the show while not making it super apparent. The first big change happens when Ryuk appears before Light. After this meeting, every expression that Ryuk shows is the same as Light's. He's a projection of what Light is feeling inside. All these deep and well-designed parts of not only the story but the characters create an amazing show. The largest misconception I had was with what Light was trying to achieve. This is the same with L, as at first I believed him to simply strive for peace and justice. However, in reality, his character is just as childish and bored as Light's. The only real difference between the two is what side they're on. There's a lot to the characters in the story. However, if you want me to do a deep dive video about Death Note, like the video so I know that you're interested. With this, the characters deserve a 10 out of 10. It was good while it lasted. We eased each other's boredom for quite a while. Well, it's been interesting. Those were the last words in the show said by Ryuk. In reality, I only liked 3 characters: Ryuk, Light, and L. However, the rest of the characters are still well written.
Hold! Wait a minute! Okay, before continuing the video, consider subscribing. Only 10% of the people that watch our videos are subscribed. And if you like our videos, then why not? Yeah, I'll let you watch the rest of the video. Bye!
The story itself is good and works in tandem with the characters, which makes them both have a lot of depth. However, I simply don't like some parts of the story. After Light comes into contact with Misa, I personally started liking the story less. The quality of the writing didn't stop me from getting disinterested in some parts of the story, with how slow it decides to be when building for later chapters. While the writing is good, it still makes me reduce the rating, giving their story a 9 out of 10. The story feels very long as it's very psychological, making some parts of the story feel very prolonged. But I myself find the quality of the writing more important in this kind of show, which still made the rating high. The basic idea of the show in itself is interesting. In reality, making a psychological story in a real world with supernatural powers takes a lot of thinking, so that you don't break your own rules. And this is something that the show does very well. I feel like this is the main reason why I decided to give the story a high rating. The action is good, however it gets very repetitive. The 37 episodes have the same form of action the whole time, as this is a psychological show. There is no break from the action, as the whole show is based around people tricking and manipulating each other. While the characters taking part in the mind games might change, the format of the action feels the same. While I was watching the show, there were moments that I didn't want to watch the show, as I knew the conclusion, making the enjoyment of the show a lot harder. A lot of the enjoyment comes from you thinking, but as I know the outcome, I spend most of the time thinking about the characters and their actions rather than the tension and action created in sections of the story. This was a much less enjoyable way of viewing the show, making me give it a 7 out of 10 in regards to action. While I do think people that watch the show for the first time will enjoy it a lot more, I personally found it really hard to enjoy just because I've already seen the show before. The sound design of the show is very good and I really like the music. In different situations, the music changes and it doesn't overlap the other parts of the sound design. This allows for the music to hide in the back of your head, and it's still of good quality. The sound effects placed on voices and other parts of the show give it a lot more life and realism. There are areas that are over-exaggerated, however, overall the sound design is very good, standing at a 9 out of 10. There isn't a lot that I'd change about the sound design, however I do feel that the voice acting is slightly dated. This being the only reason to not give the show's sound design a 10 out of 10. The animation is not as important a part of the show, but it's still good. I really like the art style more than the animation, as it expresses the show very well. The dark themes are represented with the colors used, and the animation adds drama and style to some parts of the show. The animation itself is very good, especially in sections of the story that have a lot of tension, making them more dramatic and interesting. While these parts of the show are very good, the animation still seems dated in most aspects. I decided to give the animation an 8.5 out of 10, as there are many areas where the art and animation do a very good job. However, they both can still be improved. In reality, I watch anime and other shows to get away from reality a lot of the time. That's the whole point of games and shows after all. They're designed for people to watch after they had a shit day to make it just that little bit better. However, Death Note didn't really do that for me. While I was interested and curious for a little while, the closer I got to the conclusion, the more I started losing interest. However, this doesn't really reflect the quality of the show, and that's why I thought about my view of each section of the show without being clouded with the fact I found it hard to enjoy. In reality, the show is good, however, I wasn't in the mood to watch it at the time that I did watch it, or simply the show's not for me. Even so, I still believe that the show deserves a 43.5 out of 50. With this, I can answer the question that I had from the start of the video. Is Death Note actually good? Well, I think the answer is kind of. There are many things that the show does an amazing job with, however it gets tedious to watch over time. The aspects of the show that are the best about it make it less enjoyable over time. It's also a show you should only watch once in my opinion if you really want to enjoy it. With regards to the aspects of the show that actually make it good in my eyes, it makes you think. I do like it when shows do that. It's also an interesting show to talk about with others due to how others might perceive certain sections of the show or the whole show itself. There are other aspects of the show I like. However, my final views on the show are that it's good when watched once. However, it's terrible when viewing it more than once. That's how I perceive it, and I understand how others might see it differently. However, I don't like it when I know how things are going to conclude, which is why I don't rewatch things a lot. Hope you enjoyed my review of Death Note. If there are things that you don't agree with me on, make a comment and I'll try to respond as fast as possible. Hope you all are having a wonderful day and see you in the next video.